Joining me now is Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. Tom, it is now 7:03 p.m. on Friday evening. No sign yet of the documents that Congress has requested. What happens if they don't come through?
Congress will yell more about it, and maybe we'll get some more documents. I think the contempt and the issue of impeachment is a good way to try to escalate things and make it more apparent to the Justice Department that Congress is serious about it. But it's not necessarily going to result in a mass disclosure or an immediate disclosure of information. My concern is that we have this modified limited hangout approach out of the Nixon era by the Justice Department on the Spygate and related scandals. They withheld the Strzok text messages.
Right.
They refused to disclose information about Strzok's removal for 4 months to Congress. He was removed for bias. They didn't tell Congress that. And here we're getting dribs and drabs of information released slowly and in a way to guarantee that Congress doesn't have a full picture by the Justice Department on this core issue as to why, when, and how the targeting of Donald Trump began by an FBI that was fanatically bending over backwards to protect Hillary Clinton at the same time.
Well, and it's more than the FBI. It's the DOJ and Rod Rosenstein right at the center of it. I mean, I'm getting the sense that Rosenstein really thinks he's above Congress, that he is not. He doesn't have to adhere to rules of oversight, of congressional oversight, which is what this country was founded on.
My impression, David, is that they think that the Mueller investigation can't be touched. And as a result, any documents related to the way it was conceived, however corruptly, they are loath to release to Congress because it's all about protecting this Mueller investigation, which has zero credibility for anyone who spent more than a minute, for instance, looking at the IG report that shows that key investigators involved in its creation and involved in it until just last year were virulently anti-Trump.
Well, thank goodness for two things. One, thank goodness for Judicial Watch, because you guys get a lot of information that they don't want to hand out. And thank goodness for the IG. The Inspector General this week shared with Congress and with the whole nation information that Rod Rosenstein was withholding, namely more information about those Peter Strzok, Lisa Page memos and what they were planning to do and what they did do. In one case, switch directly from Hillary Clinton investigation over to the Russia investigation. They also came out with more information about other FBI officials that apparently had just as much anti-Trump bias as Peter Strzok did. And they came out with information, the Inspector General, that is, came out with information about Comey being under investigation. So at least we have information from the Inspector General.
But the question is, what happens next? All of these folks have been implicated in setting up the Mueller investigation. Why is the Mueller investigation sacrosanct and not subject to scrutiny? And just to give you some news here, David, everyone's interested in the FISA court abuses. Congress has asked for the transcripts. We sued the Justice Department for the transcripts, and specifically on the Carter Page issue, where the Clinton DNC dossier was used to justify that FISA warrant improperly. And the Justice Department just told us we don't have any transcripts.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, again, what we did find out this week was very revealing from the Inspector General. It was a tale of two cities, seeing Rosenstein and Horowitz sitting next to each other because they had very different explanation of what was happening at Justice and FBI. But one thing in specifically that Horowitz said is that the bias exhibited so clearly by Peter Strzok and others at the FBI did translate into policy. Other people tried to deny that was so. But there is a former Attorney General, Mike Mukasey, who was on Fox News yesterday, who talked about how that process worked. Take a listen to what he said, and I want to get your reaction.
That's true. Everybody's got a right to opinions. But when you say that we have to close out this investigation, that's not just an expression of an opinion. That's a statement of what you have to do on your job. And Strzok was one of the supervisors. Lisa Page was counsel to the deputy director of the FBI. These were not street agents.
So you're entitled to your opinion, your political views. You can hate Trump, but you can't allow it to affect your job at the FBI. That's exactly what happened. And they probably changed the investigative course of what the FBI was looking at with regard to Hillary Clinton, moving that investigation over to Russia with all of the false narratives coming out of that, like the Trump dossier.
Peter Strzok was a prime mover in the FBI on the Russia investigation when it came to the dossier, obviously when it came to surveillance. So the idea that his anti-Trump bias, where he was specifically highlighting the role in the investigation, the role of his investigation in stopping Trump, making up for what he allegedly did to maybe make Hillary Clinton's election more challenging. I don't know how you can separate the two. That's where the IG failed. The facts are there to call into question the Mueller investigation. Yeah. He failed to draw the obvious conclusions, and frankly, it's up to Congress, the Justice Department, and the FBI to get on the ball and understand the Mueller investigation's irredeemably tainted and compromised. Right. And in the least needs to be paused till we figure out just how much corruption's endemic there. Exactly. We shouldn't wait 2 more years for another IG report to tell us what's rather obvious, that the Mueller investigation's biased and compromised.
Well, I'll tell you something else that seems obvious from what Horowitz was saying is that there's not that much of a difference between Peter Strzok and Rod Rosenstein in this particular regard. He is tainted. That we found out this week that there is an investigation, FBI investigation of former FBI Director Jim Comey. There's an investigation ongoing, and considering Rod Rosenstein's participation in the firing of Jim Comey, he has to recuse himself from the Russia investigation. He has to stop his role of being the foreman, if you will, of the Mueller investigation. Don't you agree?
Well, you know, if they were applying the recusal rules evenly, he would. But if they're not, maybe Jeff Sessions should come back in, unrecuse himself, as he should have done a long time ago, and take back control of his Justice Department from the Mueller-Rosenstein team. You know, right now, as far as I'm concerned, Robert Mueller is running the Justice Department with respect to everything related to Russia and congressional oversight, and that's why we're getting the obstruction. And Jeff Sessions has got to come back in and start running things.